Merhabalar. Bir haftayı daha gözaltılar, tutuklamalar, yasaklar, soruşturma ve davalar ile hülasası yine ifade özgürlüğü ihlalleriyle ardımızda bıraktık. Coşkuyla kutlanan Nevroz'un hemen ardından her yıl olduğu gibi gözaltı dalgaları geldi. Adalet isteyen Emine Şen Yaşar'a bir dava daha açıldı. Adana'da hepimizin gözleri önünde kasten işkence suçu işlendi. Furkan Vakfı üyeleri polis tarafından öldüresiye dövüldü. Ve tabii ki daha fazlası. İşte bu hafta bizim eleğimizin üstünde kalanlar.
A new lawsuit has been filed against Emine Şenyashar, whose husband and two sons were murdered by the bodyguard and relatives of Justice and Development Party parliament member Ibrahim Halil Yıldız, and who has been demanding justice in front of the Urfa courthouse for over a year. In the indictment accepted by the Urfa 4th Criminal Court of First Instance, the grieving mother was accused of insulting Ibrahim Halil Yıldız during the justice watch that she has been carrying out in front of the courthouse since March 9, 2021. 14 separate investigations and 4 separate lawsuits were filed against Şenyashar.
After the release of journalist Sedef Kabaş, who was arrested on charge of insulting Erdogan, a citizen named Ali Yilmaz, who said, "Get well soon," to the journalist on social media and shared the words that led to the arrest of the journalist, was arrested on charge of insulting the president. The 70-year-old citizen, who was detained and released after judicial control due to his post, yes, it's a Circassian proverb. When an ox enters the palace, he does not become a king, but the palace becomes a barn.
The police attacked the protest organized by the Furkan Foundation in Adana for the 8 arrested foundation members. In the footage shared by the Furkan Foundation, it was seen that the activists were attacked with sticks, tear gas, and rubber bullets. Children were affected by the gas, and some people were injured. The images of the violence applied by the police against the participants started spreading on social media, and many users, especially politicians, reacted against what happened. Following the reactions, a statement on the subject came from the Adana Governorate. The Governorate, which targeted the foundation, defended the intervention, arguing that the protests disrupted public order. Despite the images in the press, the Governorate determined that only 2 police officers used disproportionate force and announced that an investigation was launched against them.
11 of the 25 women, including politicians and representatives of non-governmental organizations, were arrested after having been detained last week during the Diyarbakir-based operation and were asked at the prosecutor's office why they participated in the March 8 rally, the November 25 International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women, and the protests against the abolition of Istanbul Convention.
This year's Newroz was celebrated in more than 60 city centers with the slogan, "Now is the time to win," and rights violations during the celebrations did not slow down. In addition to the prevention of participation in Newroz in many cities, at least 488 people were detained. After the Newroz rally held in Yenikapı district of Istanbul, 83 people were detained on the grounds of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations. During the Newroz celebrations in Diyarbakir, 298 people were detained. After the Newroz rally in Izmir, an arrest warrant was issued for 59 people on charges of making propaganda for a terrorist organization.
Journalist Hayri Tunç, who was in Yenikapı to watch the Newroz celebrations in Istanbul, was among those detained. The journalist, who was detained due to his social media posts and the protests he followed, made a statement after his release and announced that he was accused of inciting the people to hatred and anger for his posts about the mother who lost her sons in Maraş massacre and of terrorist organization membership for following the Suruç massacre protest. It was learned that the journalist's post about a femicide in Kağıthane was also subject to investigation.
7 artists who took the stage at the Newroz celebration in Aydın's Efeler district were detained on the grounds of the songs they sang.
People's Democratic Party Eskişehir Provincial Co-Chair Şükriye Ercan, who was summoned to testify at the Eskişehir Newroz celebrations on February 12, was released after testifying at the police station.
An investigation has been launched against around 100 citizens who participated in the protest in Eskişehir to protest the increase in transportation fees on charges of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations. The police have attacked the protest that was planned to be held on February 12th, and many people have been detained.
An investigation was launched against 21 citizens due to the march organized by the Tarsus Labor and Democracy Companies in Mersin on March 5 to demand the reimbursement of the exorbitant practice increases in electricity, fuel, natural gas, and basic food, which was allegedly prevented by the police.
The police raided the Istanbul Kartal district building of the People's Democratic Party as part of an investigation carried out by the Istanbul Anatolian Chief Public Prosecutor's Office with the allegation of praising the crime and the criminal. During the search that lasted for hours, the photographs of Deniz Gezmiş and Ibrahim Kaypakkaya and the magazines Democratic Modernity and Genealogy were seized by the police.
Kocaeli First Criminal Court of Peace issued an excess ban against a column written by online newspaper Kocaeli Koz editor-in-chief Gökhan Karabulut, published on March 16 regarding the murdered journalist Güngör Aslan.
Journalist Altan Sancar, who was in Diyarbakir to visit his family, was stopped on his way by an unlicensed vehicle. One of those who blocked his way pointed a gun towards him and threatened him with the words, "You've stretched your feet too far, be smart." The journalist, who filed a criminal complaint about the incident, stated that he had been threatened before through the press and social media, that the related criminal complaints he made were inconclusive, and that impunity showed that the threats would continue.
The Ministry of Family and Social Services Board for the Protection of Minors from Malicious Publications declared Emine Tavus's book Rotten Cherry 3 Viran as obscene. The book was exposed for allegedly having harmful content on children's morality, and its sale was restricted.
Artvin Shavshat District Governor did not allow the live broadcast of the Gorgeous Memories show on Halk TV, which was planned to be held on March 19, 2022 in the district. The reason for the decision was the presence of actor Orhan Aydın among the guests of the program.
Prisoner Talat Şanlı wrote a letter to Evrensel Daily telling about the rights violations happening in one high-security prison and said that newspapers, magazines, and books were censored. Şanlı stated that many books other than those in prison library were allowed in the prison for various reasons. He stated that lately Gökçer Tayıncıoğlu's book The Cherry Tree was added to the practice and stated that the prison administration cited terrorist organization propaganda as the reason for the prevention.
The Constitutional Court examined 1,809 applications collectively and issued violation decrees for not giving the detainees various copies of the newspapers or magazines, including Evrensel Daily, Özgürlükçü Demokrasi, Yeni Yaşam, Yeni Asya, Aydınlık, Orta Doğu, Bir Gün, Milli Gazete, Cumhuriyet, Fikir, and Özgür Zengin between the years 2017 and 2020. In the Constitutional Court decree, it was emphasized that not giving the said periodicals to the detainees by the present administration was a violation of freedom of expression.
The ban on investigation of police officers who have beaten students as they were protesting the appointment of a trustee rector at Boğaziçi University was lifted. Istanbul Regional Administrative Court's first administrative trial chamber emphasized that the acts of assault, disproportionate violence, and deprivation of liberty were not due to the duty of police officers, and that the investigation of these crimes did not require the permission of civil administration, deciding for an investigation to be opened against a police commander and 2 police officers who were not previously given permission for an investigation by the Sarıyer District Governorate. The file was sent to prosecutor's office.
In the first hearing of the lawsuit, which started again in the case of 23-year-old university student Kemal Korkut, who was shot dead during the Nevros celebration in Diyarbakir in 2017, the arrest claim against the accused police officer was once again denied. The appeal court has previously stated that no crime would be charged to the accused police officer and claimed that the murder was committed within a legal framework. The next hearing will be held on September 15th.
The lawsuit filed on killing of Musa Anter, which was combined with the Gendarmerie Intelligence and Anti-Terror Unit (JITEM) main case, continued at Ankara 6th Assize Court. The case faced the risk of statute of limitations in September 2022, and the prosecutor requested that the judicial measures be lifted from Hamit Yildirim, the only suspect in the case who was arrested and was released on the condition of judicial measures in 2017. The court denied the claim. The requests of the Human Rights Association and the One Bar Association to join the case were also denied by the court on the grounds that no direct damage was done to them. The next hearing of the case was scheduled for June 20, before the end of the statute of limitations in September 2022.
Adliye koridorları bu haftada bir hayli yoğundu. Osman Kavala yine tahliye edilmedi. Sokak röportajı nedeniyle Erdoğan'a hakaretle suçlanan yurttaş ilk duruşmada beraat etti. HDP'li vekil sosyal medya paylaşımı nedeniyle mahkum oldu. İşte haftanın adliye mesaisinden bizim seçtiklerimiz.
The lawsuit filed against 17 people, including arrested businessman Osman Kavala, on charges of attempting to overthrow the government and aiding a coup attempt regarding the Gezi Park protests, continued at the Istanbul 13th Assize Court. Osman Kavala, who has been arrested for 1,062 days, was not released in this hearing either. The next hearing was scheduled for April 22nd.
The lawsuit filed against actor İlyas Salman, who shared a video of a statement criticizing the Presidential Culture and Arts Awards on social media on a TV program he participated in, started on charges of denigrating the state in accordance with Article 301 of the Turkish Criminal Code. The second hearing of the case at Istanbul Anatolian 54th Criminal Court of First Instance will be held on September 13.
The lawsuit filed against 46 people who were detained during the police attack against the Saturday Mothers' 700th week protest on charges of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations continued at the Istanbul 21st Criminal Court of First Instance. The next hearing will be held on September 21st.
The lawsuit filed against 33 women who were detained in the protest organized by the Ankara Women's Platform on August 12, 2020, against the presidential decree to withdraw from the Istanbul Convention, concluded with acquittal of the charge of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations at the Ankara 28th Criminal Court of First Instance.
Human Rights Association and Education and Science Workers Union member Fırat Akdeniz was sentenced to 6 years and 3 months of imprisonment at the Diyarbakır 11th Assize Court on the charge of terrorist organization membership due to the press statements he participated in. The lawsuit had been filed right after Akdeniz filed a criminal complaint against the police officers due to being tortured under detainment in 2019.
The lawsuit filed against 15 of the villagers who protested the drilling work of the mining company in the Üçpınar Mahallesi of the Ünye district in Ordu on the allegation of damaging property and resisting to prevent duty resulted in acquittal.
Citizen Mehmet Ali Sancaktutan, who was detained in Rize for criticizing the government due to the bad course of the economy, price increases and double-paid bureaucrats during a street interview published on social media in June last year and was accused of insulting the president, was acquitted in the first hearing held at the Rize 4th Criminal Court of First Instance.
The lawsuit filed against 14 Boğaziçi University students who protested against trustee rector at Boğaziçi University Naci İnci on October 4, 2021 on charge of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations and resisting to prevent duty continued at the Istanbul 22nd Criminal Court of First Instance. Upon the objections on the defendant lawyers that there was a procedural error in the file, the judge wanted to dismiss the student's lawyer Ömer Kavili from the whole. The court delegation called the police and left the courtroom. The hearing was adjourned without being held.
The lawsuit filed against 4 students at Boğaziçi University who were detained for carrying a rainbow flag as they were protesting for their arrested friends, and 8 other students who were detained while protesting the situation continued on charges of violating the law on meetings and demonstrations. The next hearing of the case at the Istanbul 24th Criminal Court of First Instance will be held on June 21st.
Newspaper distributors Veysi Altın and Ercan Yeltaş, who were tried and acquitted on the charge of making propaganda for a terrorist organization, were sentenced to 7 months and 15 days in prison each in the retrial after the reversal decree of the Court of Appeals. Diyarbakır Fifth Assize Court deferred the announcement of the verdict.
People's Democratic Party Van Parliament member Murat Sarısaç was sentenced to 1 year and 6 months in prison on the charge of making propaganda for a terrorist organization due to his social media posts. Van Fifth Assize Court deferred the announcement of the verdict.
Diyarbakır Metropolitan Municipality Council member Şehirban Zuhurli was sentenced to 7 years, 9 months and 22 days in prison in the court case in which she was tried on the grounds of terrorist organization membership and resisting to prevent duty. In the final hearing held at the Diyarbakır 10th Assize Court, the prosecutor presented their opinion and claimed that Zuhurli had participated in press statements and resisted against the police officers, preventing protests during the time when a trustee was appointed to Diyarbakır Metropolitan Municipality.
The latest hearing of the lawsuit filed against journalists Aziz Oruç and Ersin Çaksu on charges of insulting the state due to their news articles and columns published in Özgürlükçü Demokrasi Daily, which was previously shut down with a statutory decree in 2016, was held at the Istanbul Second Criminal Court of First Instance. The trial of the journalists will continue on October 27th.
The latest hearing of the lawsuit filed against Özgür Gündem Daily's managing editor İnan Kızılkaya and journalist Can Dündar, who participated in the substitute editing-in-chief campaign for the newspaper, could not be held at Istanbul Second Criminal Court of First Instance due to the excused absence of the case lawyers. The journalists are charged with insulting a public official due to the news article published in a newspaper with the title "The Most Useful Judge of the Palace Regime."
The lawsuit filed against 4 people, including Etkin News Agency editor Semiha Şahin and reporter Pınar Gayyip, continued at the Istanbul 23rd Assize Court on charges of terrorist organization membership and making propaganda for a terrorist organization. The next hearing will be held on May 26th.
The lawsuit filed against previously shut down Dicle News Agency reporter Şerife Oruç continued at the Batman Second Assize Court on charge of terrorist organization membership. The journalist was arrested in 2016 as a part of the file and was released after 2 years, and the next hearing will be held on June 23.
The latest hearing of the lawsuit filed against Contemporary Lawyers Association and the People's Legal Bureau lawyers was held in the courtroom at Silivri Prison on charges of terrorist organization membership and managing a terrorist organization. Istanbul 18th Assize Court again denied the release claim of lawyers Selçuk Kozağaçlı, Oya Aslan, Özgür Yılmaz and Barkın Timtik. The next hearing will be held on June 1st.
Bir haftayı daha ardımızda bırakırken ülke medyasının en kıdemli isimlerinden Aydın Engin'i kaybetmenin üzüntüsünü yaşıyoruz. Düşünce suçuna karşı girişimin çeyrek asırı aşan yolculuğu boyunca yan yana beraber yürüdüğümüz duayen gazeteci bedenen aramızdan ayrılsa da anısı ve mücadelesi her zaman yolumuzu ışıklandırmaya devam edecek. Onu saygı ve özlemle hatırlayacağız.